was the directorial debut of Parker Finn, who also wrote this movie as well. After witnessing a bizarre traumatic incident involving a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter starts experiencing frightening occurrences that she can't explain. As an overwhelming terror begins taking over her life, Rose must confront her troubling past in order to survive and escape her horrifying new reality. I was interested in this movie because, yeah, we smile every day, so I thought that the idea of taking something we do every day and turning it into something frightening was actually a pretty cool idea. And it mostly works. There are instances in this movie where it feels like that the smiling aspect is gone for a little bit. I would say that there's probably a good half hour to 40 minutes or so where it feels like nobody is smiling whatsoever. However, in my mind, I did say to myself, there's not as much smiling in this movie, so it shouldn't really be titled Smile. But then the second half of the movie happens from occurrences in the first half as well. I get why it's called Smile, as it should be called Smile. I thought that this was actually a pretty effective horror movie. There were some legit jump scares. Unfortunately, the trailer revealed a few of those jump scares, and so those didn't come as surprises to me.
I'm just really scared that something bad is going to happen. Rose.
There's some great sound design in this movie, especially towards the middle-ish end of the first act, beginning of the second act, where Sosie Bacon is listening to something on her laptop, and the sound design makes you pay attention to what's on her laptop. You're supposed to be hearing something, but you're so focused on that you don't know a jump scare is coming. And right when you're focused on that, the jump scare happens. So moments like that in the movie, they got me. It actually somewhat terrified me. I thought it was legitimately scary in some parts, and it's not because of the smiling. I'll get into the smiling in a minute. But there were moments sprinkled throughout the first half, and I would say the last 20 minutes of the movie, that actually somewhat scared me. And I'm not somebody that scares very easily. Elevated horror scares me. Something like Hereditary scares me. It's one of those movies that I do have to watch with the lights on if I'm watching it late at night or during the day. Something like Sinister freaks me the fuck out. The Strangers, creepy as shit. The Conjuring is scary, but you know, there's always a sense of warmth with The Conjuring because you have the Warrens. I somewhat had that actually because Sosie Bacon was playing a psychiatrist. So I was like, you kind of know what's going on, but you don't really. This movie also has some subtle subtext about mental illness and how we deal with mental illness and how others perceive people who have mental illness and what exactly is it that makes us go crazy and what the definition of crazy might be and how mental illness can pass from person to person. Completely blew my mind. I didn't know anything like that was going to be in the movie, and I thought it actually did a really good job at addressing that without beating you over the head with all that subtext. It was very subtle in its approach in that regard, and how the movie remained restrained in doing that, especially since we are focusing on a psychiatrist. We're in a hospital. We are dealing with somebody who has experienced trauma in her life. The fact that the movie doesn't continually beat you over the head, but it actually has something to say, I think works wonders for the movie. It's also a reflection on trauma as well, and grief and sorrow for that trauma, I guess. And all of that was pretty effective, and that led into the third act. I'm not even going to talk about The Entity because it completely took me by surprise. When I saw it, I was just like, well, okay, that's kind of dumb. And then something else happened with it. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Like I said, I'm not even going to spoil it. I'm not even going to describe it. When you see The Entity, you will be like, I feel like most people are going to be like, whoa. The movie does feel a little generic in its approach. It's a very similar movie to The Ring or It Follows. It's almost like those two movies combined. You see something that got passed on to you, and that previous thing or person saw something, and that got passed on to them. That was passed on from a previous, you know what I mean? Or it's like something's following you, but you don't really know, like in It Follows. So it did lack a little bit of originality, and I think it falls into the trap of over-explaining at times. There's a lot of exposition. There's even a Google research scene in this movie. It's very brief, but it does go a little bit overboard for my tastes in a horror movie like this. It's a very commercial horror movie in that regard when it comes to explaining things and its overexposure to exposition. It was a little bit much. Some of the dialogue didn't work for me either. I thought it was very weak. I thought some of it was actually laughably bad in moments where the movie is trying to be serious and it is legitimately trying to scare you, there are moments that did get a hearty chuckle out of me, and it wasn't like moments that were meant for comedy, because there are those in this movie, and it adds a little bit of levity, but the moments where it's actually trying to be serious but instead it's unintentionally funny didn't work for me. I just ended up laughing instead of being scared. And I don't know if that plays into the actual smile aspect of the movie. The smile itself, when some actors and actresses were doing it worked. At other times it didn't work. When the times it didn't work, I looked at the actors and actresses and said, is that your real smile in real life? Because yeah, no, never smile ever again. I don't want to see you. It's ugly. I'll just say that. And then there were other times where the smile legitimately freaked me out, and I said, nope, never smile again, because that's terrifying and you're gonna scare a little kid. So other than a few issues I have with the movie, I mostly had fun with Smile. Even though I was scared by it, it didn't scare me as much as I was hoping it would, because I think it does fall into a little bit of overexposure with its exposition, leaving the movie feeling a little tired and true and generic in its approach. And I don't think the dialogue and some of the times they smile are effective at all, but it did have some effective jump scares and some great subtext about mental illness and trauma, and some brilliant sound design as well. I had fun with Smile, and I will say I enjoyed Smile with 3/4 worth of a bucket of popcorn, and I'm never gonna smile again. And especially after you see my thumbnail, you'll probably be like, never smile again, man. So if you guys have seen Smile, what did you think of it? I want to know what you thought of the movie in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies somewhere.